Welcome to the AYP News Show, where Marc Silber dives into the latest photography news.
A local woman has a photo studio, and she is doing a 40 over 40 series. She is bringing in women that are that are 40 or over, and she's doing a full day shoot with them.
You know, that's a pretty big discount. What was the price point on that again?
300. Let me look. It's right down here. $350 for a full day
Whoa.
of photo shoot, and like I said, that includes makeup, costumes, everything.
Okay, that's a serious discounted shoot. But here's what's cool about this. Just to give you guys an idea, like you could do this in your own town for whatever market you're going after. You could do it with kids or seniors or people bringing their pets in, which will give you a couple of things. One, an audience to work with. It's, okay, granted, during COVID, this may not be the easiest time to launch this kind of campaign, but we're going to get out of it sooner or later, and it's something to plan. But whoever you're going after, if you're going to photograph dogs or, kids in high school, whatever it is, and you want some practice, this could be a good way for you guys to enter that area.
All right, next, there's a new book coming out.
Oh, yeah.
We love talking about music on this channel, and there's not much bigger than Queen.
That's right.
So Neil Preston has been a photographer. He was a photographer for years with Queen, and he's releasing a book, Queen, the Neil Preston Photographs. And there's some amazing photographs, getting to look back behind the scenes and, with practices and, just some stunning work.
He was basically their official photographer, right?
Yeah, and here's image of him.
Yeah.
Neil Preston, he was super involved with them, went on their tours, build a bond with the band. It's very similar to if any of you have seen our Michael Zagaris. That's exactly who I was thinking of. You build a relationship with these people, and that's how it's also like the photographer we looked at with Dan Milner with Muhammad Ali, and how he built a relationship with Muhammad Ali, and that's what allowed him to get these really intimate and iconic images.
That's right. Yes, if you guys haven't seen our videos with Michael Zagaris, he started out as a rock photographer. He's now a sports photographer for the Oakland A's and the San Francisco 49ers, but really he got his start with rock photography, and he has a great description in that video about how you get into this kind of situation, because this isn't taken with a 600 millimeter lens sitting in the press box. This is like, he's right in there, and he's very, intimate.
All right, so we've got two stories that are very similar. We were kind of discussing this. So I'll give the background on this, and then Mark, you can give some of your thoughts. We talked about this. So what happened is there was a photographer in Atlanta, Chris Alex, I think that's how you say her name, and she created this image here. Here's the full image here. And then she uploaded it to Upsplash, which, if you're not familiar, is a royalty-free website. You can pick the images, and then you can use them, and it's royalty-free. And so it was then used by the UK government as part of an initiative. And you can see here it was part of their Cyber First, which is encouraging people to get a career in cyber technology, so computer science, cybersecurity, things like that. And so Fatima's next job could be cyber. She just doesn't know it yet.
A whole different name. What was her original name?
Desiree is the actual name.
Okay.
And so the photographer then was very upset because she saw this as a message which was encouraging people that, like, oh, you could, rather than be a dancer, you could be a, computer person instead.
You could be anything.
And she felt bad that this student was being used all over the internet and was being memed and was at the center of this controversy.
Yeah.
And was being used to promote a message that they don't believe in.
Listen, what's the photographer's name? Alex. Alex, that's her last name, right?
It's Chris Alex.
Chris, here's the deal. If you don't want your stuff being misused, don't put it on a royalty-free site. I mean, come on. It's not like you embedded your rights and, all rights reserved. If you put it in a place where somebody could grab it and use it for whatever they want, I'm sorry, that's kind of it's in your domain. Remember this, Bob Holmes, you're responsible for everything in the frame. Now let's take that on a really broad sense. You are responsible for that photograph. Wherever you put it, if you put it somewhere and you don't want it ripped off, like you put it on Instagram even, and you get upset because somebody else took it, well, don't put it there. I mean, it's that simple. I'm not advocating, listen, I'm not on the side of taking somebody's photograph and completely changing it the way they did. Believe me, don't get me wrong there. I'm not in agreement with that. But it's like, if you don't want to get run over by a car, don't walk out into the street with a blindfold on. It's that simple. And, we have to preserve our own rights as photographers and artists. And this is, like it or not, is part of our job. You have to know your rights. And if you're giving those rights away, that's kind of, it's on you at that point. It's just like Bob saying, whatever's in the frame is your responsibility. So if you come back and you edit it and you go, where did that light pole come from? I didn't know it was right in the middle of the guy's head. Well, you composed it. You are responsible for sharing it every step of the process. So, this is the way the world works, unfortunately. So as artists, protect your work. Or if you don't care, if it doesn't bother you that somebody else is going to take it, crop it, put some other message in it, go ahead and put it on a royalty-free site. It's as simple as that. What do you guys think?
And so kind of going along a similar route, we now have a contest.
Oh, yes.
Which was sponsored by Nikon and H&M, which is, if you don't know, a high street clothing giant.
Yeah.
However, some people noticed that
the fine
there's
print.
a Google Doc form that you have to go through, which has all this information. And if you look here, it says all competition entries and any accompanying materials submitted to the competition will become the property of H&M, Photo London, and Nikon on receipt and will not be returned.
How cool is that?
If you submit your work, it becomes the property of Nikon and H&M.
Yeah.
And people were quite upset when they saw that in the fine print. And this isn't you give them the right to use it in their marketing and stuff. No, they own it.
It's theirs. Yeah, another side of the same story, folks. Look at what you're signing and where your photographs are going before you send them away. Or if you don't care, give it to Nikon. But, again, I'm sure there's the Latin phrase, that the Latin phrase, let the buyer beware. And maybe one of you smart guys out there must be a similar phrase to let the creator beware. If you're, again, it's just part of, you're responsible for everything in the frame, and that includes where it goes and who uses it. So it's just another example of this same thing. Let's not get ripped off as artists.
All right. Our next story is a little bit of a controversy. David Yarrow.
Oh, yes.
Is a very big name in certainly wildlife photography, although he claims he's not a wildlife photographer. So recently he posted this image, and there were people who were criticizing him for using animals as props. They feel that he is frequently using animals as props, and that it's not particularly safe, it's not ethical, and especially that he appears to have worked with, and the organization is, I think it's like Montana Wildlife.
Yeah.
It's here somewhere, but it's a Animals of Montana, which is a game farm. So they raise like elephants and giraffes and other animals, big game animals, and they're under investigation for like animal cruelty and some other things. And so,
Not a cool bedmate there.
Yeah. So what are the ethics then of working with such a company, of using animals for props, and other similar things?
When we were going through this, not only that, but what this girl, if this is not a composite photograph, would you want to be standing that close to these guys that could just run you over? I think elephants are either the second most dangerous animal. They're right up there with rhinos that just literally run you over, and without a blink. That elephant that's behind her left shoulder there, if she provoked it, I mean, she would not have time to get out of the way. It would just run her over like a big truck. Anyway, that's another point. I don't know how this was composed and what was going on here. I think of David Yarrow, honestly, as a fashion photographer. I've seen, this huge banner photograph on Fifth Avenue in New York, and he does take beautiful fashion photographs, but obviously he's done his share of wildlife photography. Yeah, I mean, abusing animals is not in my moral code. I think that we have to be very mindful, when we're photographing. Let's check out who we're going into, our collaborators, and if they have a poor score in the animal rights department, then go on to someone else. It's not that we can't use animals in our photographs, but do it in a way that's humane.
All right, we have our in-memory section where we like to look at a photographer who has recently passed away. And this week is Chris Killip, who is famous for his book, and I know I mispronounce it all the time. So how do you pronounce that?
Flagrante, I believe is how that's pronounced.
And he wanted to photograph the experience of kind of the working class as he saw it. So he's got some of these really stunning images. I went looking and I was reading a little bit about him. He was born in the Isle of Man and grew up there. And he left high school, and then he ended up becoming a photographer.
From his eyes, he saw these things that were wrong and photographed them, which is a very powerful thing that we can do as photographers. We talk about changing the world with our photographs, and many photographs have done that. They've changed the world because you get an inside look into things that nobody else is going to necessarily see. The United States Civil Rights Movement definitely had that. Our recent obviously events here, these are photographs or videos that you are basically doing you're finding what was a wrongdoing and showing it to the world. Okay, what else do we have, Jared? Are we at the end of the show?
We've got one more. So, going back to Nikon, something a little fun and interesting. Not quite as funny as some of the stuff we've had in the past for our In Lighter News, but Nikon has their Small World Photo Contest.
Pretty cool.
You guys are familiar with micro photography. Well, this is microscopic photography.
Look at these.
So here, they're photos that are taken with microscopes. So this is the winner. It's the dorsal view of bone and scale of a fish.
Yeah.
A juvenile zebrafish. And there's just some really cool stuff. So here's like the development of clownfish. This one's mind-blowing. This is the tongue of a freshwater snail.
Isn't that amazing, you guys? That looks just like modern art that somebody put together on a computer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Subscribe for our newsletter.
And subscribe to the channel and enable the bell. Okay, so the message is be subscribed to our newsletter, to the channel. Go to my Instagram, stay up there because I'm going to be putting some stories up. And like, share, leave your comments. We go through your comments every day. I'm not kidding. You see that? Sometimes I don't have anything more than this, on your comment because it's a comment, not a question. Remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Love you guys. Stay well, stay safe.